chest, speak it with your mouth. 5-ring kings is what we're talking about. From Laws to the V-Block, everybody shout L-A-L-A. Big city of dreams, but everything in L.A.
LA is your house. Welcome to this episode 289. I'm here with David and Lewis.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
And this is Bobby. We're coming back from another Galaxy game, match day 3 against Kansas City. I almost said Vancouver. Against Kansas City. A draw. A golden 1 point that we may have not deserved. But at least we have that point. How are you guys feeling?
Not good.
Sure.
I'm feeling like I gotta crack this beer open right here. There we go.
Did you just open it with your pinky?
I did. I've been working it out.
Have you been doing that ever since I've known you? I don't remember you ever doing that.
Yeah, dude. You haven't seen me do my pinky push-ups?
No.
Oh, you're missing it out. Yeah, but only in my pinky. Look, man, anything to avoid talking about this Galaxy game, right? I think last week when we talked about the Dallas game, we felt like we saw a little bit of we had a tiny little bit of positivity somewhere, but honestly, like
we were like first game.
Yeah, maybe probably within the first, I would say, 3 minutes. Bobby and I were texting in our thread, just going like, "This shit is embarrassing." Probably within, I would say, okay, 3 minutes is exaggerating. 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's a little early. That's
10 minutes. 10 minutes. We were like, this shit is embarrassing.
What the hell, man?
Well, it took, unless I'm horribly mistaken, I think it took the Galaxy 4 minutes to cross midfield.
Did they cross it at midfield in 4 minutes?
I think it took them 4 minutes.
The ball might have crossed, and then it got sent back immediately, and then I don't remember them getting out of their own half for probably another 20 minutes after that.
I mean,
that's what it felt like.
That's
what it felt like.
Bad. I mean, it was one of the worst performances of the season. I mean, it's only 2 games, but
you're not wrong.
You're not wrong.
But it felt so bad. It was embarrassing, and I don't know what to say without.
Right, without really like just going crazy on this team, right? So let's kind of pull it back a little bit. Last week we talked about, I think we all kind of agreed that like Greg Vanney, for the most part, gets his starting lineups right. So the changes that he made in this starting lineup was we have Jalen Neal starting in the back. So congratulations to Jalen Neal.
Call. He heard the podcast, man.
Yeah. Yeah, so congratulations to Jalen for getting his first MLS start. There was one other change, right? Or was he the only change in that lineup?
He was the only one. Mavinga was out. That's the only thing.
Yeah. Okay. So addition by subtraction, in my opinion, for that game. I still think that rings true. That I feel like he got the starting lineup based on the players that he has available to him in this moment. I feel like he got the starting lineup right. Where we highlighted last week that we are sorely lacking wingers and wide play. I think Peter Vermes probably listened to this podcast because that was his entire design to play against the Galaxy was don't let them, force them out to the wings. They have no wingers, so there's nothing they can do. They could not get out of their own half for very long stretches. And luckily for us, Bond had a phenomenal game, or Kansas City had an awful night, considering that they haven't scored a goal yet. It was probably both.
Yeah, because I was thinking, which is the worst team? The team that put up 11 shots and made no goals, or us? Right. But you know what I mean. But Bond did an incredible job. Of course, a lot of the shots were directly at him. Sure. But I mean,
but he still had to be there, Bobby.
He still had to be there. He still needed to be aware. He still needed to catch that ball and not bounce off his hands or anything. So no, definitely he was. Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about it later. But yeah. what was your next point, Dave?
Well, no. But and my next point was that Peter Vermees, pretty much just said, "Hey, here's I'm going to force you guys to do stuff," and the Galaxy had no answer, and it got to be quite embarrassing. Once again, Dejan Joveljic completely isolated. I think even more so than he was last week.
The first game. Yep.
Yeah, some of the promising play that we saw from from Efrain Alvarez and Memo was gone, non-existent. I thought that Ricky Puig had a bad game.
They blocked them out.
They really did.
Brugman had some bad moments as well. I mean,
yeah, I think the only two players I would say that had a positive game were Jonathan Bond and Jalen Neal, even though Jalen Neal had that pretty bad giveaway in the very early part of the game. I think that's nerves, and I think he fixed that for the most part. Yeah, it was pressure. It was a lot of pressure that Kansas City was putting on the Galaxy, but they just never were able to break that.
It was his first, first debut MLS Galaxy game.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, Lewis.
Yes.
What you got for us, Lewis? Yeah. Tell us a story.
Oh, a story. I got a lot of stories. None of them end well. Look, here's the thing. So last week we talked about, it's there's the crowd that thought that after one game the season's over. And I'm sure that there are people who still feel that way, that especially after the second game, that the season's over. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I understand the sentiment, because I also said it's not just a new season 2 games in. This is a continuation of what has been happening the better part of the decade, based on everything that's happened. And it's mainly that Chris Klein got extended. It just kind of seems that it's not a new season. It's just another part of, the very long tenure under, the current administration. So I understand that sentiment of that it's not just 2 games. There's more to it than that. But I started thinking about after the Kansas City game, even only 2 games in, there were multiple reasons or multiple excuses, I guess, as to why the Galaxy have started out this way, from injuries to road, playing on the road where in 2 stadiums that they typically don't do well, to, an incomplete team, to just a lot of things that Were
there a lot of apologists out there for this game?
I think that there were some, at least for this game. I'm not entirely sure. I know there were some from Dallas after the Dallas game. I didn't really see too much after the Kansas City game, but I have to imagine that, if I can't imagine that there would be less people saying, "Oh, well, it's just 2 games.
It's okay. It's right? All right."
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, at the end of the day, will not throw the season out the window yet, because I know it is just 2 games, and I know things should get better. I know they're not playing well, but I mean, I got to figure that they're going to turn around. However, what I will say is that if you break down what's happened in the first 2 games, and despite all the reasoning as to why it's happened, and by the way, they're legit. Right? It's not like people are talking out of their asses. They're legitimate excuses. What happens in the home opener? Because you're going up against a inferior opponent.
No, hold on. I feel like
what should
Vancouver.
be.
I feel like Vancouver gave the Galaxy a get out of jail free card in being able to just run rampant in CCL. That 5-0 score line that they are coming off of, I feel like this has given the Galaxy an excuse to go, oh, well, Vancouver's turning out to be a really good side. Look how many goals they scored in Champions League. That's a prestigious thing for them to do. It doesn't excuse the fact that we know that Vancouver's probably not going to do anything. They're probably not going to make the playoffs. Or if they do, they're going to be in one of the last spots, one of the 9 spots that are going to get in. And it really does sound like we're throwing away the season. We're one of those people that are ready to throw away the season. We're one of those people that are, that are ready to say, well, Greg Vanney's not cutting it. Get rid of him. I don't think that any of that is what we're actually getting to. I think, again, this all boils down to the culture of the team, the lack of ambition within the organization, the lack of management, the lack of leadership, all of these things. It's culminating in what we're going to see this weekend, the protest. This is the change that we want to see. This is the thing that our fans, our most loyal supporters want to see us get away from, because this is what we're facing right now. We're a team without direction. We're a team without ambition. And we want to see that change. We want to be a contender. If we look like we are capable of winning anything this season or any season, I know a lot of people talk about the Galaxy could have made a run last year. I don't think, I don't know if that's the case. But the fans want to see change. We want to, everybody I think wants to see change. We want to see this team maybe even look interested in returning to glory. Because right now they don't look interested in even doing that. They don't look like a team that's going to go out there and really fight and scrape and claw for what could be a trophy. Instead, they're just going to go out there to also be out there and just make up the numbers. That's what it feels like. Oh, we got close this time.
Yeah. And I think that's been the problem for a while, right? Our expectations.
It all comes down to what the protest on this upcoming game is going to be in causing the team to have some accountability.
And I fear, because, in a way, Greg Vanney said it, but in a different manner. I think it was basically a message of, this isn't happening, right? I think we talked about it when Manny and Andrew were on the show, and Greg Vanney came out and said, look, you could influence a lot of things, but I'm sorry to say this is not happening, regardless of what you do, But he's basically, and I think I said this before, he's basically said, Chris Klein can shoot somebody in the street, he's still going to be president. It doesn't matter. Like, this guy's an untouchable. And so I kind of feel what if the game doesn't go the way that the Galaxy wanted to go, right? Whether it's a draw or a loss, the Galaxy need to win. And even if it's like an ugly win, obviously that's not going to be good enough. It's obviously going to grab a lot of attention if the Galaxy, let's say, win by an own goal, or if they, get lucky because of a set piece, but you were being outplayed, or whatever the case is. If it's not a dominant win, I think you're going to have a lot of criticism coming in, being at home to Vancouver. But so if it does go awry, and for the record, spoilers for balls and beers here, but I still believe the Galaxy can win this game and should win this game and will win this game. But in the event that they don't, I'm wondering if the team will blame the boycott, right? Well, we need the supporters here, and they're very important to us, and blah blah blah, and they're this is a distraction. Again, 100%. Again, deflecting accountability. It's something else. It's someone else's fault. It's now the fans' fault, and flip it to where, hey, divide and conquer, right? It's actually their fault that we're like this, because we need their support. So everybody go after them. Try to make them the villains. So
I think, Andrew said on the pod a few weeks ago when we had him on here that so far, nobody's done anything to like really get nasty. I think that would be the first step in getting nasty, is blaming the fans for their lack of ability to put together a winning culture, or even just like, hey, let's just try hard kind of culture. Bobby, do you feel like Greg Vanny's on the hot seat?
No, he's not on the hot seat. He's on the hot seat for me, but he's not on the hot seat, not on the real hot seat.
Who the hell's gonna fire him?
Yeah. As for, I mean, I had something to say before you asked me the question. Now it's totally blanked out.
Regarding the fans and divide and conquer, and yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, no, that's the thing. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. I really don't think Galaxy would go to that point to start blaming the fans for their losses. I mean, let's not create a scenario that hasn't happened yet, and then get mad
that's
about
what we're
it.
here for.
That's what Twitter's for. But yeah, no, we'll see. I don't think they're gonna do that, but they're going to definitely feel a massive change in the stadium on Saturday. I mean, even though, like Lewis said, even if the stadium is full, other than the opposite ends of the supporter groups, there's gonna be a big sound change for the full 90 minutes of this game. You're not going to be hearing drums. You're not going to be hearing chants.
I mean, that's the point
of that.
That's the point that the supporters are trying to make. Yeah.
No, I know, but that's what I'm saying. So yeah, so this is the first time that the players are going to actually experience that, because they've kind of been in their own bubble in the last couple games because they've been playing away. I really don't believe that they recognize the boycott. They recognize what's going on, but I don't really think they're feeling too much of it just yet, or seeing how serious it may get. So we'll see how it goes. But Lewis is right. This is a must win, and it has to be a high level of performance of type of win. They can't be coming out there and just barely making it on a penalty or like an own goal, like Lewis said. This has to be a good performance. I mean, this last week was just, the worst. I mean, honestly, I would have rated that game as the worst team of the league of the league last weekend with that performance. It was disgusting, and I don't know how it's going to change. I really don't know how that's going to change at home. I'm not one of the persons that says they don't have heart. I think the players, a lot of the players are actually working their asses to try to get something going, but it's just not happening. It's the lack of cohesion, it's the lack of coach ability, man, to put these guys together and have them start meshing. I mean, just little things like just turning on the ball, getting a good counterattack, having better speed, understanding where your player is going to be before you even have to look up. I mean, there's just so many things that they do not have in this team that makes them so slow, makes them look that they have no they're making a talent team look talentless, and it's embarrassing and it's horrible, and I don't know how that's gonna change at home. I mean, yeah, especially with the new environment.
I mean, the sad thing is that. Say that so there's obviously we're all waiting on these two youngsters to come into the team, and apparently this is supposed to turn the team around. Now, I'm not going to say that it turns the team around, but it certainly is, in my opinion, it should help. The problem is that, and I think I told you guys this. So it looks like Julian, I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Aude. I thought it was Ayude. Yeah.
Aude.
We'll figure it out.
I know a guy that spells his last name the same.
Yeah,
I'll just wait for Joe to pronounce it.
Maybe.
Yeah. So, he's coming in. He's 19 years old. You have Caligari, who's 20 years old. They will presumably at some point win that spot. I think Caligari is the low option to buy at the end of the year, and Odd is going to be, again, presumably under 22 player. It's rumored that it's a 5-year deal, so there's another 5-year deal. It's another big investment on a presumed prospect.
That's a huge deal for a coach who's in his third year on a team that hasn't kept a coach for more than 2 years.
For more than 2 years, right. But he is currently in charge of everything and only answers to Dan Beckerman. So,
Sure.
So here is a case of, okay, let's say that hypothetically or theoretically it's supposed to be a better squad with these, kids going in there. You're going to have a 19-year-old, a 20-year-old, and how old is Jalen? 20?
Yeah,
as well.
20. Yeah,
he's okay.
Yeah.
So you're going to have 3 kids, not old enough to drink,
right?
making their MLS debuts.
Well, they won't go party then.
Well, there's that.
That was my argument.
But there's going
That
to
was
be
my
obviously a lot of inexperience in that back line. And you can say, hey, you know what? This guy's coming from Lanús, coming obviously from a better league. Another guy's coming from Fluminense. Again, a much better league, so they should be okay in MLS. And again, but hypothetically, that's right, exactly. So you're going to have to trust.
Translate. I mean, you can have a veteran coming in from a league that is at a much higher level, or has played in a league that is a much higher level, coming in and underestimate the league. I mean, just ask Steven Gerrard, ask Douglas Costa, ask a whole line of players that the Galaxy has signed.
And it's not even the Galaxy. I mean, this is where you're, and this is where it gets, again, this might go back to the Galaxy, but this is where your scouting department has to get it right, or at least do everything you can to get it right. Because it's not just about skill level. It's not just about, okay, you're playing in this league or you're playing in this position, right? It has to be more about that. Does it fit a system? What is it? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Does it fit to what we're trying to do here? Is it a locker room guy? Is it a team player? I mean, there's a lot of vetting that should be going through a process of signing a player if you're doing it correctly. Now, obviously, there's still going to be some misses, like even the biggest teams in the world get it wrong. So it's not that the Galaxy are immune, or or they're only they are cursed, but they do shoot themselves in the foot. So again, on paper it looks fine, but when you put it into practice, again, you have 3 kids playing on your back line with absolutely no experience, and you're expected now you're expecting that defense to all of a sudden click because you have 2 new players, 2 foreigners coming from 2 different leagues. Now they're going to have to try to figure this league out very, very quickly, trying to figure the system out very, very quickly, and try to basically integrate themselves into this team as quickly as possible, because this could go even further south. And again, you're still missing.
Man, this is at the late stages of playing Jenga. Man.
Yeah. No. But I was just gonna say I was just gonna say something similar right now, where this is high risk, high reward.
Yeah, of course.
For Greg Vanney. I mean, this is that stage in Jenga where you've got the wobbly stack, and you pull one of these, and you hope that the stack falls and everything's stable.
Well, at the bottom, it's only
it's one bar, but then you got these 2 bars,
and then
you got these 2 bars at the bottom, and you're like
holding up the whole structure.
Bars, boom, and they fall, and it falls and it stays up. Yeah, that's just going to be the gamble, Lewis.
Yeah, I know, and I think at this point, I don't want to say he has nothing to lose, because he has a lot to lose, but at the same time, I think this is your only move. Right? I mean, you can't just go.
I mean, he's going to get fired anyway.
Yeah, I mean, he is definitely he's definitely the next scapegoat.
Yep.
Yeah, because this wasn't on Klein, right? He wasn't there. He's suspended, and if this goes awry, then it's like, hey, this isn't Klein's fault. He was in charge of everything. This is on paper 100% true. So yes, he is the next scapegoat when if things don't go the way that they planned. So it's. Obviously, it sounds like a broken record, but again, 2 games isn't just 2 games, and even if it is just 2 games, just take a look at those 2 games and compare it to other.
How are we going to come back from those?
So
Honestly, it still doesn't solve the problem that we saw against Kansas City in the lack of wing play, because even though you have Aude, you have Caligari, they're not the wingers that you're going to get. And granted, you lost your number one assist and pretty much the catalyst for your whole attack in Julian Araujo. And you replaced them with Efrain Alvarez on that side to create. And we all, it's a broken record. Go back to any of one of the last podcasts in the last 5 years. Efrain Alvarez ain't going to do it. You have Memo Rodriguez, who is new. He's just an MLS guy that, he's not going to be spectacular.
He's a filler. Yeah, he's a filler.
He's pretty much a filler. You have a poor form, God, I blanked his name, Raheem Edwards. And you've got, a guy who was not expecting to start in Leerdam. Look, it's just, it's no wonder this game went this way, but you have to wonder, how long can the Galaxy tread water like this? And I think this Kansas City game was a huge beacon for any of the other opponents the Galaxy is going to face against. Is like, look, this is easy. As long as you game plan properly for this team, it's really, really, really freaking easy to stuff them. And I mean, we didn't even get into the usual stuff about this game. I don't think there's really much to talk about other than Jonathan Bond's performance.
Jonathan Bond's performance was was great. Again, I mean, I think it was a great one, but it's also bad.
Exactly. So Lewis,
it's a mix.
Go ahead and hit us what the people have been waiting for.
Well, thank you for listening, guys. We'll see you guys next week.
Yeah.
Okay, so obviously, I don't want to go down the stats. You guys know the stats here. I mean, 30.
Just do the quick.
Over
just do
30
the quick
shots.
Just come on.
Kansas City took over 30 shots. Okay.
Yep.
So if
that's alcohol poisoning.
Yeah. If the Galaxy, I don't want to say if they played any other team, but if the Galaxy played a half decent team, they lose this game. Even if it's 1-0, they lose this game.
If they play the Rochester Rhinos, they lose this game.
Yes. And the Rochester Rhinos don't even exist anymore. This is what we said at the beginning of the show. It's a point. It's a road point. But this feels like a loss. In fact, this feels like a bad loss.
Yeah,
because
you're not wrong.
Because there was no way that you could spin that we earned this point. Because if you're going to sit there and tell me that we earned this
was all luck.
This is more than luck. This is more than luck. I think in our text thread, I said, "Is there a word that is stronger than luck?" It still means luck, but it's stronger than.
Oh, I forgot.
We did a lot. Like stupid luck. Yes.
Yeah.
Like I just hit the lottery type of luck. Like I have no business hitting these odds, but we did.
Yeah.
And that's what it felt like. That's exactly what it felt like. We had no business getting any sort of point in this game. I think the Galaxy know that. I think the thing that upset me most about again, lack of accountability is that Greg Vanney said, "Oh, this is a character performance." I'm like, whoa.
I was proud of our guys for the grit, the determination, the effort. I thought it was a character point on our behalf. We weren't great with the ball tonight by any stretch. So many transitions to have to defend because we lost possessions too easily at times. The first half, just structurally, we were kind of all over the place, which led to transitions where you just spend a lot of energy on the defensive side and a lot of energy, protecting your goal and defending your box. But that's not something that we've typically been great at. And tonight we did what we had to do to get a point in a tough place and not on our best night. So I'm proud of the guys on that. We know that from a soccer perspective or football perspective, we're going to continue to get a little sharper and get better. But to come to Kansas City and take a point, this is a tough place to play. They're a good team, well coached. The guys gritted it out.
I'm like, what exactly are we talking about here? What type of character are we saying
that? A clown.
Yeah. Yes, because it's kind of like
that kind of character.
I don't understand that. And again,
and not the like kind of clown either.
No. it's mind-boggling, and maybe I know he didn't praise the performance. At the very least, he didn't say that they deserve the point or they deserved better. And maybe he saw that the fact that, the Galaxy held 52 to 48 possession in favor for them. Never mind that about 95% of that was in, because of the back line. But yeah, I mean, obviously an extraordinarily horrible performance from both of them. Let's just be honest, from both of them.
Yeah.
If you can't score out of 30 shots, you had a horrible performance as well. Okay, so just really quick before we go.
Thankfully, this was not one of the free games on MLS Pass, because if this was one of the free games and somebody would have tuned in and went, "Oh,
you don't want anybody, stumbling upon it."
You know what? The thing is, I don't think we said it in Balls and Beers when we were looking for the garbage cup, guys. This might be it. Galaxy Vancouver, it might be it.
Maybe.
No, I think it's just our feeling.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Because who's gonna want to watch that game? If you're not a Galaxy fan, you're not a Vancouver fan. Who's watching that game?
I mean, it's the last game on the night, so maybe just like MLS. Like late night MLS people.
I
know what they
I don't know. Whatever.
I guess I still don't think it's one of the worst in the list.
What do they call them at extra time, Bobby? Sickos, MLS sickos. That's
sickos. Yeah, yeah. You got to be all right. Foregone conclusion: who was the highest rated player?
Bond.
That's okay. So who was the second highest rated player in the game? Now that's harder
tough.
to do. That's harder to do. Very hard.
I'm gonna just on optics, I'm going to give this to Jalen Neal, but I think it's going to be somebody like Delgado or Brugman.
Yeah, I mean, I would have done Neal as well, but Neal came. I mean, yeah, I would. Yeah, okay. I'll just say it. I'll just go with Neal. Let's do it.
Yeah, I would have said Neal as well. I think you're looking at the optics and the fact that, despite the fact that they let 30 shots allowed. It's still a clean sheet.
Right. Yeah.
It's still a clean sheet. But no, David kind of gets it right. It's Brugman. 7.4. I'm not going to say who's the third highest rated player. We're going to leave it at that. Harder question, if that's even possible. Who was the worst rated player?
Man. Jeez, who would that be?
Yeah,
David, do you have someone?
I have someone in mind.
Hot take. Ricky Puig.
Mm.
He had a lot of giveaways. He had a lot of bad balls. He had a lot of intercepted passes.
I really don't. I mean, Jovic then, because just such lack of touch of the ball. I would assume because
I don't think he touched it enough to get a rating. That's the thing.
That's what I'm saying. That's where I'm trying to go. Like the lowest rating.
Sure. Lewis, hit us.
Bobby hits it. It's Jovic. 5.7. A 5.7 rating. Okay, talk about touches. 15. All game, he had 15 touches. In 67 minutes of play, 15 touches. Not one touch was inside the box.
Yeah.
And 15 touches isn't a lot. If I showed you how many touches Chicharito would get in an average game, it's about it would be like 3 times that. So, no, that's not a lot of touches to begin with. And not one of those touches was inside the box. As your striker, again, it's not really on him.
Was it because he was tracking back? Was it because he was trying to check back and help?
Well, again, Jovic, like Chicharito, depend on service. And if the Galaxy are not giving him the ball, then he's not going to get touches. And if they can't bring it up past midfield, obviously he's not going to touch it inside the box.
Yeah. How many touches did Preston Judd get?
Good question. Hold on. Let me go ahead and bring that up. While I'm doing that, who was the second worst rated player?
I'm going to stick with my pick and Ricky Puig.
I don't know why I'm feeling this. I'm going to go with Martin.
He didn't try to swat a ball out of the air, Bobby.
Isn't that game though? but it was so bad. It holds over.
It carries over. Yeah. All right. Negative points going forward. Yeah.
So, second lowest rated player is, and I would have picked him. Efrain Alvarez. So Joveljic
I
got
guess.
so
He was on the field?
so
I guess
Joveljic
that's right.
got a 5.7 rating. Alvarez got a 6.0 rating.
It's not good, Bob.
Other players' ratings. So Jalen Neal, we talked about Jalen Neal and how we thought he had a really good game and how the optics of it, you know, the future is bright for him. He was the lowest rated defender. 6.4.
Yeah, they gave away in the beginning. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's not just that. I don't think like that one giveaway is going to drop everything. But I think I think part of it is like we're looking for anything bright at this point. And, you know, I'm not saying Jalen had a bad game. He didn't at all. I did think he was a bright spot. Obviously he's not going to be perfect.
Yeah, the bar is lower.
The bar is significant. Yeah, it is lower. But I also feel that did he solidify his starting spot officially? No. But you get a couple more games under your belt like that. Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't think that it was too big a stage for him. It's not. You know, he didn't look out of his depth. He made some mistakes.
No, he never looked out of place.
He never looked out of place. He made some mistakes on a lot of occasions. He looked better, or I should say, like he looked calmer than like other players would. Like if that was what's his name, Sega or Mavinga in there, and Mavinga did eventually come in. If that was Sega in there or Mavinga, I don't think they distribute the ball out of the back the same way that Jalen does or can. But yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
you let in 31. You let 31 shots.
You let 31 shots go off. I mean, it's never
not going to be great.
Right.
Yeah. But
yeah, it is what it is. So other notable players, David, you said hot take, Ricky Puig. I don't think that's so much of a hot take. I think he was completely taken out of his game. By the way, that's 2 games that he's been taken out. And I've also said, well, you know that this attack centers on Ricky Puig. If you crash on Ricky Puig and you take him out of the game, who steps up? Who is going to step up and say, I'm going to take this, I'm going to continue the offense, I'm going to continue to break the lines, I'm going to make that final pass, I'm going to make those runs, I'm going to take on a defender, I'm going to break defenses down. Who is going to do that? And so far, nobody.
Yeah.
Nobody. It's very similar to a breakdown.
I think we're counting on Efrain to do that, but obviously he's not going to do it.
Yeah, he's not going to do it. No. Ricky Puig was a 6.9. Which again, I thought it was a little high. One of the facts of this game is that he was the player who lost the most duels in the match, 8. This says 67 out of 76 passes completed, which means that he only missed 9 passes. I'm sure if I go back, I'm sure that's accurate. It just seems like a lot.
Yeah, it's because it's out of character for him.
It is out of character. He took 1 shot. It did not get past the first defender.
Yeah.
He was completely taken out of the game. And again, I don't think it takes a genius to figure out, hey, why don't we just take this guy and have somebody else beat us?
But it's also easy to take him out of the game.
Who
else do we got that a team gets to worry about?
Well, that's my point. I mean, at this point, it wasn't the case last season. It's certainly turning out to be the case this season, where we are very much a one-dimensional team. And that's been a problem in the past. Once Ricky Puig came in last season, that changed. But we're right back to, okay, just take him out. No one's stepping up. If they sign a winger and he decides to step up, then so be it. I know that Chicharito needs service, but he does change the dynamic of the game. Regardless of what you think about, of what you think about Chicharito and comparing him to Joveljic, in that they kind of have the same style of play. Joveljic isn't Chicharito. Chicharito is going to change the dynamic of the game. So it is a piece that is missing in this Galaxy lineup. Whether you agree with that or not, it's it's
I think
irrelevant. I think it's true.
I think if Dejan goes and tracks back to try and create a 1-2 situation and free himself up, I don't think that the defender chases him as tightly as they would Chicharito. So even though Chicha's not known for his playmaking ability, the defender still respects him enough to chase him further back into the midfield and thus pulling out the back line a little bit for the other team. Whereas Dejan, if he comes back and tries to check in and get a ball and turn and face up, I don't think the defenders on him is tight and they stay more in position. So yeah, it's definitely there's definitely a difference. I mean, defenses should keep better track of Dejan because he had, a good amount of goals last season, but he doesn't have the reputation that Chicharito has. Obviously, he doesn't have the name there. And so, yeah, he's not going to pull apart defenses by tracking back in the way that Chicha does.
Yeah. So, again, we sound like broken records. Obviously, this is just another game.
Another episode, right?
I think we said what we need to say, and it's basically all eyes will be in Carson on Saturday. So it's going to be interesting.
All eyes, but no voices, no butts and seats. Everybody's going to be at that. There's going to be a good amount of people at that protest. I think if you as a Galaxy fan is frustrated by this situation, by the situation that we found ourselves in the last 10 years. You should take advantage of, the protests that are happening and go and make your voice be heard.
So I got a question. I'm not sure if I'm kind of stepping out of line here. I actually don't know. So I'm not attending the game. David and Bobby, you two are attending the game, correct?
No,
I'm not.
He can't go.
Oh, you're not going to go after all?
No, Donovan's got a play for school.
Oh, that's right. Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
You're going.
I'm going.
So are
there.
you going to be at the protest? Because it takes place before the game, and it's not going to be during the game.
Yeah, I'm going to be there. Yeah, I'm going to be there shooting it, and maybe I'll interview some people if I have some time. Yeah, and then I'm going to go into the game. I've said this many times but in previous episodes, Louis. But yes.
Yeah, because I wasn't sure. Obviously, I knew you were going to cover the events that were going to transpire. I just wasn't sure if you're going to be part of the protest.
No, I'm going to go. No, I'm not going to be a part of the protest. I'm going to be there covering it and watching it and seeing it. And then I'm going to go into the game and I'm going to watch and see how that plays out as well.
Okay. So, Dave, you have mentioned before that, the supporter groups are a big part of what the Galaxy experience, or going to a Galaxy game. The supporter groups make that experience. Without the supporter groups, it's just another dull sporting event that you have no interest in, whether it's baseball or anything else. It's just not the same because the supporter groups makes it fun. If you believe that sentiment, then this year should be pretty dull for you going to the games, right? I mean, it's obviously a different experience, but there's no denying that. You can ask anybody; it's going to be a different experience for sure. Mm-hmm. But if you're saying that this is the reason or one of the big reasons why you go to Galaxy game, aside from love, of the team, then will that really alter the way that you view the games this season?
Of course, it's going to alter. Of course, it's going to alter my level of enjoyment for the games. I mean, obviously, even if we look like we had a solid team and we're winning, it would still alter my level of enjoyment. I don't think that I'm going to have to find out what that's going to be like this year. But yeah, obviously that's going to play a factor in. Now, I do think that I don't know what I want to call this. My love for the team, my connection to the team, to the sport, to this being my crest is going to be overridden by, me still going to games and stuff. I just don't think that, obviously we're not going to enjoy it as much. It's not going to be the same experience. I don't think it would sour me to the point where like, I'm just not going to be a fan anymore, or I'm just not going to go to games anymore. But I do think that it is going to alter my experience. Obviously it's going to alter everybody's experience.
Yeah, I've had a couple of people, they wanted to go to games, and obviously I'm saying this is not the year. And even if I were to say, okay, let's just go to a game, it would be really no different than anything else, because the fun element, or at least the thing that made it unique, is gone. So it's really hard to, and especially with the way the team is playing, it's really hard to sell this team right now. It's really hard for me to actually sell this team and talk good about it, and to, if you had a choice, where would you go? It's like, it's really hard for me to say you made the incorrect choice in choosing the other team at this moment.
It's hard. It's hard to do that, but I'm Galaxy all the way, no matter what. And if I'm gonna be telling people like, "Hey, be a Galaxy fan," this and that, I'm not gonna push people away or tell them like not to watch this team, or not to go in game, not to buy a jersey, not to do, because then I'm going against this team. I'm going against the team that I support, and I'm going to support for the next 20, 30 years, 50 years till I die. So like, to push people away, I think it's a disservice. And it's something that you're doing against the team, actually. But
but it's also something that I mean, look, I don't think that anybody's pushing anybody away. I don't think that's the goal of the supporters group, is to push people away.
No, I'm not saying the supporter group.
I know.
I'm talking about Lewis.
But I'm just saying, yeah.
The supporter groups. So here's my piece with this: the supporter groups, I completely understand and agree with what they're doing. I don't feel that what they're doing is actually going to do anything. That's my feeling. The only way it's going to actually happen is going to happen. The only way something's going to happen by these protests is if Galaxy continues to be sucky. But if they turn things around and get better throughout, this is going to die out by the end of the year.
I actually don't think that the result on the field has any effect at all as to what's going to happen with that. Where I think I
do think so, but yeah,
we've look how long we've sucked.
No, I know.
And look how many times that guy's got
into
extended. Here's what's going to change. Here's where it's going to change is when the in-stadium product is not as attractive to sponsorships and to brands that no longer see the Galaxy as an attractive brand to be a part of. That's when we're going to see the effect. And I think that what the supporters are doing by essentially killing the atmosphere in the stadium, that is going to go in part of starting to make that brand less attractive.
Yes,
and I think that's where they're going with this.
It can, but I'm not sure if it will. That's the issue. So, it can, but that's reaching very far.
But by not doing the protests and by not doing the boycott, they're not affecting the possibility for that being there is not there.
You are both correct in this, or at least in my opinion, you are both correct. I agree with Bobby that, I said it, that I'm not rooting against the Galaxy, but I do want to see some change happen. And I think the Galaxy have to put a poor product on the field for this to have a lot more effect. And it has nothing to do with, well, if we have a bad year this year, then yes, we will get rid of Klein. And that's where David is correct. He is 100% accurate. We have seen in the past decade that the Galaxy higher ups, that AEG, Dan Beckerman, have absolutely no interest in trophies whatsoever. Otherwise, Klein would still not be there. They are interested in the bottom line. And again, this is where David is correct in that things will change when the money stops coming in. Now, whether that's ticket sales is one, and then the other one is sponsorship. So yes, when the sponsors stop coming and when they start seeing that we probably don't want this associated with you, but this is where the boycott again, David's correct in this, where it might have an effect.
Yeah, it might have an effect.
If
But
the
I'm just
league
saying,
covers this,
But I'm just saying, it's only. We haven't even seen the first day, so we haven't even seen how effective it is going to be at all.
of course.
So that's why I'm just saying, like, just hold your horses, because we'll see. Because
But
this is a really far reach in order for it to make it happen. That's the thing. And I get what David's saying. You have to make the effort in order to make that reach. I get it. And I agree
100%.
I agree with all of it.
100%. And the thing is that what I had said, it's easier for something like this to work if the team isn't performing well. Because if the team performs well, the casuals and everyone, like, you can market it. Hey, look how good we're doing, right? You want to see some good soccer? Come on down, right? We'll give you the 2-for-1. We'll fill the stadium up. And if you gain more new fans, like, yeah, this was fun, or yeah, that's a good team, then Boycott doesn't work. Yeah. But if you're playing crappy, nobody wants to see you.
They're not beating good teams 4-0, are they?
Right, exactly. So even if you are like, hey, we're going to go ahead, give free tickets, and we'll fill the stadium up. We'll sell. We'll give away 27,000 tickets, and you get to that stadium,
they're not
and
giving out tickets.
I know. I'm just saying. If you're going out there,
those ads have been always the same.
But if
I hate when you're like, oh, look what they're doing, look what Galaxy's doing, and I'm like, they've been doing that forever. Like, just relax.
But if they get new people in the stadium, though, that's what they want to do, to get them in there to buy tickets, to keep continuing to go to the games.
Because the way they're playing,
right? And if they get there and the Galaxy get trounced, 4-0, 5-0,
there's not many returns.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot easier to like, yeah, why would we want to watch this team? Hey, that other team over there is doing the exact opposite, right? So that's where, like, okay, the Boycott may have an effect here, but or at least it's going to be more visible. But like, oh, no wonder that's happening. So,
but it's all upon the performance of the team,
right?
Though,
exactly.
Too. I mean, that's the thing. Like that's
exactly. And I said that
if they go poor, yeah. I mean, if they go poor, then yeah.
That's what I said. If the Galaxy do well this season, then it's counterproductive to what we actually, want to happen. They have to do poorly. So, like I said, in a way, I almost feel like I don't want to, but
I'm not rooting for them to go poor. So
ultimately,
rooting doesn't make a team actually go poor, good or bad.
Right, of course.
It's not like you have witch powers. So
how dare you? Was that sort of your? What you're trying to get?
You're also hoping that Apple covers the protest, right? Like, you're hoping that it's
I'm not sure how much they will. I know Twelman has brought it up a couple times.
Yeah, it's gonna be down. Here's the thing.
I haven't seen any of the games show any like the latest games, the after match day 1 show anything really outside of stadiums, like match day 1. Like, I haven't seen anything like that.
This is the first game of the season, and I do think it is a big story. I do think it's a big talking point. As long as the narrative is there for the boycott and things like that being,
it's going to be brought up. I just don't know how much it's going to be.
Exactly. It's going to be brought up. I don't think, I know that there's some people that are like conspiracy theorists that say like, oh, Apple's going to step in and cause, force them to do something like, because, it's bad for the brand or whatever, because Galaxy is a recognizable brand and it's going to look, no. Apple could give a fuck about this. Because all they'll do is they'll just turn around and focus more attention on the other teams. Yeah.
There's other teams man.
Easily more attractive teams. So I don't think that that's going to be the case. So yeah, I do think that, in essence, the Galaxy themselves, and I've said this, they're putting themselves out of business here by not. I don't want to say that they're in a lose-lose situation. They've already made their decision in how they're going to go with what their executives look like. They cannot bend to the will of the fans because it's just going to create a dangerous precedent for them. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we've seen it. We've seen it already. We've seen it with Columbus, now Austin. Columbus was going to lose that team, and enough people stepped in to the point where a new ownership stepped up and paid a franchise fee for the Columbus Crew. We've seen it with There was another with Portland and things that are going on with Merritt Paulson. I mean, there's some real movement there. We're to the point where every year you hear Merritt Paulson come to the top of the list of owners who are like heavily involved in this and that. You haven't heard a peep from him this year because he's trying to stay away from what was apparently a very open secret involving the women's team. It's so to say that, you know, AEG and the Galaxy are not going to bend to pressure. I think there's a way for them to do it where it doesn't look like they're just, you know, trying to meet the fans' demands. They can, I mean, you know, they can do it quietly. They can do it super quietly. They can let stuff just kind of disappear, you know, kind of like the way they did with P. Vianis. There's definitely a way to do it. They just have to get out their own goddamn way. That's the thing. They just have to get out their own way.
No. But what do they have to actually do though? Like what would be the minimum that they can do that the fans would be happy for? What's really literally what they can do? Not some like philosophical.
If they name a GM, I think if they name it president and GM, and it's somebody other than Chris Klein.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen.
They're not gonna fire Chris Klein. I'm not saying they're gonna fire Chris Klein.
Move him to a different thing.
Just move him. They can make him like executive. You know, like whatever. You know, executive president of the Galaxy, and they can put somebody else within the thing, and they can all they have to do is just change some titles. That's it.
I first of all don't see that happening, and second of all, I see a lot of these supporters not be cool about that either.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
completely
100%. That's exactly what I was going to say.
So.
A, that's not happening, and B, I don't think that's going to make anybody happy. The problem is that even if you do the scenario that you said, Dave, is that he's still part of it, right? The culture doesn't change because he's still there, and whether or not you have somebody by
you
name,
move him further away. You move him further away.
He's already because he's saying because he's
not all fans.
Yeah, because he's saying.
Let's say they bring in Todd Donovan, they bring him. But I mean, I think it's going to be a better situation than it is now. That's the thing.
But it really wouldn't fix anything.
The further away, they push him away from the soccer operation.
But they've tried that already.
They've said he's not going to be involved, but he's still the president. So it doesn't. He's still ultimately involved. He's still ultimately responsible.
He's suspended, and I still feel that he's very much involved.
But he's also on the rule committee that's supposed to be enforcing those rules.
Yeah. So I mean, that's the thing. Like you can step him away, and maybe
he's Claudio Reyna in this situation.
Oh, wow.
He is Claudio Reyna. Hot take. He's Claudio Reyna in this situation in that it's so incestuous. He's still involved, but guess what? He's not going anywhere. He's not going to go anywhere. So what you do is you push him off.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Fans won't like that because they feel like you're
and let
cheating.
somebody else run the soccer side of it.
Somebody was already doing it. That was the closer. Right now it's Vanny. Vanny will probably still be instead of
then name him president and GM.
They won't do that. And like I said, if Klein is still there,
I think
then
that's all it's going to take.
That is all that it's going to take, but they won't do it. That's the thing.
Also true.
289 and Philly Fine.
Thank you guys for listening to this episode 289. I'm here with David and Lewis. Say goodbye.
Later.
Thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you next week.
And this is Bobby. Later.